Hello and welcome back. Uh, we've had a quick retro through, we've got all the grids sorted, and now it's time for the full race. Longest commentary by myself since I started commentating. Ended up being about 20 minutes longer, I think. I think it's about 15 minutes longer than I normally do. So just wait for everyone to put their setups on. If people remember. Well, no one's ready up so far, so that's promising. Or maybe that's because the tier 3 drivers actually listen to the announcements. Either way, as the first person has now readied up. Presuming they've got their setups up and they're sorted our strategies out, obviously they can start on whatever the tyre they want. As they have a free set of tyre choice. Let's check the settings or cars on standard. Whew! Suddenly, for a split second, then I thought the safety car was off for a split second. Then, I honestly thought that. Now, off we go for the second formation. That got some mixed tyres, some on the mediums, some on the softs. Not sure what hybrid's on the hards for. I really don't know why he's on the hards. Yeah, that's really confusing. I had. It's 10 and Kazakh's already been disqualified. So, they'll be sitting around in colder tyres. Looking at tyre compounds, we've got Mazepin on the medium tyre. We have got Visitas and Viper on the softs. We've got Maldi and Young on the mediums, Krago on the softs, alongside Lomlin and Alpha and Alex Ter and Kazakh and Sanson and Matador and Parados on the mediums, and Sentinel on the softs, and Hybrid, you can just forget about him. You can completely forget about him. Oh, now Alpine's got Krago spinning under the safety cars, heated his tyres up a bit too much now. And now he's going to have a load of grass on his tyres for the start of the race. You don't want that. If that grass would come off before the start of the race, I do not know. Certainly going to help him on the start of the race. You see that grass is still in his tyres there. It's not going to help him at the start of the race. You can see his tyres still full of grass and full of marbles. Crap, it's not going to help him on the traction. You can still see that grass in his tyres. It's not going to get poor grip. So, it's 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights for the race here in Tier 3. It's lights out and away they go. Mazepin seems to got another good start. Visitas struggles. His Viper's got a decent launch. Maldi's had a terrible launch, but so has everyone else behind him. As an Alpine's off the circuit and Maldi's trying to weave his way through. Visitas and Viper bashing away into turn 3 as they come through farm section into the loop. As we've got some cars going side by side here. As we've got Hybrid up into 14th. Matador's down to 13th after that drop in more positions here. Sentinel's trying to make a comeback move here after the crash in the sprint qualifying. So he's going to be a bit out of rhythm compared to everyone else. Sentinel's going to make the move on Sant here. No, he isn't. And there's definitely some collisions going on. That's Hybrid and Matador. Matador's been pushed off the circuit here. He's back to the front as Mazepin leads away, followed by Viper and Visitas. Maldi's close behind on those mediums. Mazepin will obviously be a bit slower. on this for this first stint. And looking tyres and Vipers off the circuit already. Going to be seeing that too many times. So far, good start by Maldi for a change. This time he's got some batteries in his control that actually are charged. Oh, and that's Viper going wide. Oh, and there's a tap by Facitas and Viper there. And Facitas is just so much better in the brakes. He's got the move done. Viper does not quite have the pace as we saw in the sprint qualifying. Now, Maldi weaving through turn 3 and 4. There's more yellow flags, there's safety distance, people retiring. Hybrids in the pits, front wing damage on those hard tyres. So we set mediums to go to the end, so it's sensible. I don't know where that collision came from and when it happened. But they've got damage and having to pit, and that's, if it's just going to like happen to me yesterday, you'd be sitting at the back of there, at the back of the grid for the rest of the race, because Silverstone is not very common for safety cars, unless somebody really bottles it and somehow managed to crash out. But apart from that, it's very difficult to actually crash your car out around the circuit, because it's very, very open. Probably the most open circuits on the calendar. As we for Cargo seems quite close to the back of Young. There's more yellow flags, that's Hybrid spinning at turn 3, so not done very well in terms of his cold tyres. He's made them a bit sketchy hot now. So I don't know about that. It's just made it even worse for him now. Mazepin still leads the way on those medium tyres. Wonder how strategy's going to go. I wonder if Mazepin's going to pit around sort of lap 12, 13. Plan a set of softs, or would he pit later or earlier? Young just is keeping in this fight now. Obviously, oh, as Young has almost in a moment losing his rears on those medium tyres. Cargo behind him on the softs, and so Alpha not quite within this group. So this is the problem sometimes being on the softs. If you're behind a couple of people on the mediums and you're just following them every single lap, you are losing time to them, because that's every single second that you're losing time on those softer tyre. I think it's a tier 2. Like majority of people started on the softs, apart from like 2 or 3 cars. So it wasn't really too much of a case. But here when you got a mix, it's a bit more complicated. It's a good thing with Mazepin. Mazepin had a bit of a poor chapel there. But Mazepin, because he's in fresh air, he doesn't lose that pace. He's just going as fast as his car can go. But every single lap for Facitas and Viper behind him, they're just losing that advantage of those soft tyres. That's why some people prefer to be on the mediums for the start and then go on to softs towards the end. As Facitas goes very wide at the Stowe corner. Going to be doing that too many times. That's how he got his penalty in that sprint qualifying, losing that potential first place. Mazepin's had a bit of a wide line for turn 1 and you lose that speed all the way through into Farm corner. As Cargo's up the inside of Young, trying to fight with his teammates. He's on the softer compound, so he's got that he can use the extra bit of grip he has. Young does not have DRS, and Young has nothing to apply for. Cargo just raises past. No competition mode. They just make a compromised line. Young might try and find a way here back here. Look, trying to go on the outside, looking to get a better exit. And Noman's got the first penalty of the race. And it's not even. Oh, chance. Penalties are better so far. Essentials, that's the fastest lap of the race on this first set of softs. Now, Facitas, what are you trying to make a move into Stowe corner? It depends, he's been very poor through this section of the circuit. Oh, and Viper's already got a penalty. And it's only that 4, it's not good for his podium chances. Maldi's going to be licking his lips now after seeing that. But Mal just needs to make sure he doesn't do that himself. We should talk about Malda here, so anything can happen. As Kazakh makes a move on Alpha there, side by side. Kazakh on the medium tires, Alpha on the softs. Kazakh's obviously getting that mediums to work. Alpha's almost pushing Kazakh there, so soft tires do give him an extra bit of grip through those slower speed corners. Cargo's got a penalty already. I'm assuming on the inside of turn 1 as to try and really straighten that corner as much as possible. Done it a few times myself to be honest during yesterday's race. That's more because I was frustrated and I wasn't really concentrating. But yeah, it's a bit of a DRS train for the top 4 right now. As they wind through. Rocklands and Loffield through Woodcote they go. See a bit of a gap that they got behind, but it's not massive. So, Cargo looking pretty quick as of right now. Obviously, Mazepin's lap times are determining everyone else's lap times behind him. And then there's more yellow flags that Papa Devils spun for like the 6th time today. Viper's got DRS himself, so Andy can't make that move. Visitas is too far behind to make any move on Mazepin as of right now. We're really interested to see when these guys pit. Like I say, tyre wear is not exactly massive around the circuit. You can do about half race distance on those softs, so whether they're going to pit around the same time or the mediums actually going to go a bit further, up to then. I love that camera angle. The car's really gripping through that turn 2. As Young is, I think, re-overtaking Cargo here, and I've lost a bit of time. As Hybrid spun again, this time at Cops. It's not going very well. Maybe he hasn't had a lack of practice. He had to restart it, he had to reinstall his game. He's obviously just had no practice, and he's obviously just messing up every single corner he goes through. Viper's now out of DRS here, and Maldi's not going to be happy with that. Viper's taking the extreme route. Viper's out of DRS here, and Maldi's going to be looking to make a move now. Viper's really struggling through that section. DRS from Maldi, he's got the overtake mode. Can he make the move done? Viper's not using his overtake. Maldi is. Maldi's getting closer, 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 closer. Oh, almost hits the back of him. I was going to hit the back of him. Maldi should have went for the lunge there. He definitely had the speed advantage to do so. And just have it over braking mid-corner and try and hold it. And I did. Oh, Visitas is round! Visitas is round! And there's probably a collision between him and as Mazepin. You are really on the edge of traction going through that section, and a slight touch can really spin you out and really put that grip over the edge. And I think that's what just happened to Visitas, a slight touch. Misjudgment of the car, and I think he's just spun again at turn 1 as those tyres are hot. Yeah, turn 1's always quite dodgy on the rear grip, as it is in their minds with the hot rear tyres. They're basically asking your car to go round. Viper, not quite within 1 second. Maldi needs to keep this in play. Viper's been using that DRS, but Maldi's not having any of that. He's lost a bit of time now through this section of the track. More yellow flags. That's Papa Devils has spun for the 7th, about the willingth time today. Maldi, you can see he's got a lot of exit. Viper's had a shocking exit there, but Maldi's a bit too far behind to make a move. And I think Visitas has just spun again. So not good for Visitas. You gotta, if you make a spin like that, you have to keep the car under control. You have to be cautious, because those hot rear tyres are not going to enjoy it. The more you have to be calm and wait for those tyres to drop, and as soon as those tyre temperatures drop back into that temperature window that you can push again, then you start pushing. But if you stop throwing a car around when your rear tyres are 105 degrees, you just lose all rear grip. And that's a corner cut by Maldi if there isn't one. That's extreme corner cutting. Well, you see, if you're going to get a warning, Mel's make it a big warning. That gravel trail reminds me of when I went off the circuit on that one. Good racing line though. It did help me many times through the loop. Actually make sure I know whether to turn in. As Cargo's looking to get past LMX line, he's backing out. But he's staying behind him now, he's losing time. But the problem is, as soon as Cargo overtakes Young, Young is just going to be overtake him at DRS. If I was Cargo, I think he might need an undercut here. Put onto the mediums, try and get an undercut. Young has to go long. He's on the medium tyre, so he can't respond. So if I was Cargo, I'd pit early, try and get an undercut going. Maldi's looking very close, much closer now to like a Viper. Viper's gone wide again. It's the second penalty of the day, and Maldi's now a lot closer, and he's got a lot more overtake to play with. Viper's used all of his, and Maldi going to move up inside, up into P2. STB Maldi up into P2. Viper's now got two penalties, and he's now behind Maldi. But Maldi now has to somehow. His next rival ahead is Mazepin, but will Maldi have the pace to catch up to Mazepin? They're on the same tyre compound, so it's beyond pure pace whether Maldi can catch up or not. I was expecting Mazepin to have a bit more pace in this, to be honest, despite being on a medium tyre, because if even Maldi's keeping up, then that Maldi's just lost a tenth through there. But Viper's just unable to make any move. Cargo not unable to make any moves. Like I say, I think that undercut might need to be taken in place here. Mastodon and Sant just have a battle there. I think Mastodon just got past Sant. Mastodon's just a bit of a quicker driver than Sant. And makes the move up into P9. Cargo but too far behind to make a move on Young. Maldi stays ahead, but Maldi's lost half a second to Mazepin on this lap. Maldi unfortunately does not have the pace to catch up to Mazepin. Mazepin saying that, it's just set the fast lap of the race. I think Mazepin used a lot more overtake that lap. Might be the reason why he pulled so much farther ahead. Oh, Maldi's gone! Oh, he's gone in the barriers! Oh, he's lost it at turn 1, and that you can't. That's the problem. As soon as your tyres start to wear out, that rear end loss through turn 1 can bite your head off. And then is there no safety car? Doesn't look like it. And Maldi's off and he's out. He was up into P2. He's on for P2, and he absolutely bottled it. That's the thing, if you have a moment, if you lose the rear end through turn 1, you have to lift off. You have to lift off and react, you can't hold it. I was lifting a few times yesterday through turn 1 to make sure that didn't happen to me. As turn 1 can be a bit sketchy, especially when your tyres start to wear down. There, Maldi's out of the race. Papadopoulos is now retired. Retired on circuit, and now there's a safety car. And now there's a safety car. There it is. So, I wonder what Mazepin does. He can pit for a set of softs, I presume. They could go to the end from here. He kind of has to be honest. I don't think he has much of a choice. If he doesn't pit, it's just going to lose 20 seconds, 25 or 25 seconds. For no reason. He has to go for the softs, because the hards are just going to be useless. There you go, on the soft tyres he goes. Viper's going to go on to a Sev. Viper's just gone to another set of softs. Young has gone to a set of hards for some reason. Viper's gone to another set of softs. So Viper's just screwed himself over. Young has just screwed himself over. What's going on here? Always question Young's strategy choices, to be honest. Well, it's not always been on the mind being the. Never was the brains on the strategy, to be honest. And Hybrid is disqualified for ignoring yellow flags. He tried to overtake the safety car and he got himself disqualified for it. Anyways, the McLaren put over to the side of the circuit. Disqualified from the race for overtaking the safety car. We all know you can't do that in the game, unfortunately. You can't overtake the safety car. As soon as P1 has caught up to that safety car and the safety car starts going, that's it. The game won't allow you to overtake the safety car and other cars. It's unfortunate, but how it is at the end of the day. Mazepin leads his way, and Young is going to be very runnable now on those hard tyres. I'm hoping there's a short safety car. Hopefully, Vasitas catches up. Vasitas is a blessing in disguise for Vasitas after what happened earlier. You know, back in the group. This is what I didn't have yesterday. Trying to do around on the set of mediums. About 25 seconds behind everyone. What 45 seconds behind everyone. And just couldn't do anything. And there was no safety car to come into play and help me. End up pitting that 20 onto a set of softs. I'm going for fastest lap. Anyway, hopefully safety car should be in this lap as Alex Ter and Vasitas catch up to the back of the safety car queue. Vasitas definitely has a train to a lot of P places to gain on them. I think Vasitas can get. I think he can get up to at least P6. After that, I think it's going to be a little more difficult. But I think Vasitas definitely has the pace over like people like Sans, Matador, and Sentinel. Okay, Sentinel might have a chance. Sentinel's got decent pace, I think. I like to think anyway. As long as he doesn't bowl it. So yeah, Vasitas, I think, is going to be targeting that top 6 sort of positions, maybe even top 5. But that top 4, I'll say top 4, first, second and fourth on a soft tyre. So they're going to breeze away here, being on a soft tyre, because that will have to get past Young. Soft tyres are going to be about a second of a lap faster, then there's going to be hard tyres. Plus those hards are going to be very difficult to warm up, because it is that C1 compound, which makes it very difficult to the very robust tyres they are. And Mazepin will lead us. Will lead the pace and go whenever he wants. He might leave it on the exit turn of the last corner. He might go now. Completely up to him though. Sometimes people like to go before club. Before Vale. Some people like to go now. Some people like to go out of the last corner. He's gone now. And Viper's been caught napping. Young is going to follow on some reason on the hard tyres. Car goes behind Kozak on the set of mediums. Don't want to see anyone else spinning into turn 1. Weiss on there with Alex Ter and Vasitas. Oh, he's up inside. You don't want to screw yourself. You just got back into that. You just got back in the train, Vasitas. Don't want to get yourself back out of it again. As Mazepin's going to be very quick on those softs now. He's going to be in a complete league of his own. Viper does not really have the pace over Mazepin. And even now with Maldi out of the way, There's no one else to fight him. Felicitas is the only one who can fight with Mazepin, but Felicitas is down in 12th. I think he's trying to get the move, but Alex Turt's also using his overtake. Kazak's got a 3-second time penalty, which won't help him towards the end of this race. You can see how much more speed Felicitas can take around that Copse corner. But unfortunately, Felicitas will have to back out. That's very slow. Cars in front. And there you go. That's what I was talking about. He had to back out there. He didn't back out. He did not back out. And with the cars, you should have saw that the cars were going slow in front. You should have knew that Alex Turner was going to lift off. And Felicitas was caught out. I think that was Felicitas' fault for not backing out there. He saw everyone else was going slow. He didn't back out. Alex Turner was going to slow down, and that's when the collision happened. Now he's going to find all that time back up again. He's lost 6 seconds. Viper's barely hanging on to Mazepin here. He's just dropped out of DRS. This Younger's got no pace on his hards. Viper's still got a pit. That's the thing, because he's gone to second set of softs. Kazak's looking over the back now of Young. And back out dirty head taking effect. Kazak can't be too careful because there is another Alpine. He's in the Alpine sandwich right now. You can see much more pace Kazak taking for that corner, but then he screws himself over a little bit. That was a corner knockout, that was. No DRS yet. Kazak not winning a move to make a move so far. It's catching up to the back of that group. Quite considerable pace. DRS is now enabled to be available to Kazak and Cargo to get past. Viper's somehow managed to get back within 1 second of Mazepin here, but I think he's used a lot of overtake and a lot of battery to try and get back in that position, but is it going to be worth it? Well, it doesn't really matter anyway. He's got a path to pit again. Kazak make that move, DRS and slipstream. Young has no chance, and Kazak on those softs got so much more grip. Now because Cargo is now going around outside of him, he's still on those softer medium compound tyres. And now he's going to make a move on Young now. Young is not using any overtake. Now he is. And then the Cargo gets past, and that's 2 positions gone. Those hard tyres are not the way to go. Although he managed to get DRS on Kazak, so using it as a defensive weapon against Young, and also to try and catch back up to the back of Kazak. Oh, Mazepin gets a penalty, so I would say I would have been reacting a lot more sharply there, but Viper's well. Right now, he's last. Oh, he's net P last, I'd say. Kazak doesn't quite have the pace of these top two, so I think this might be an easy victory for Mazepin. Cargo using whatever left he's got his battery to try and keep with the back of Kazak, but Kazak's so good through that Copse corner. He gains like a 10th just through there alone. Unfortunately, didn't quite give it our DRS. Detection points just not like right kink at Maggots. that Cargo will still have that DRS. But it's barely within 1 second now of the McLaren. The Viper is getting close to Mazepin here, but Young doesn't got any penalties, so it's definitely going to help him in the long term. And so is Matador. Matador's got no penalties either. Matador's known for not having any penalties. Felicitas has already got past him. This is looking for some payback. Got DRS and Santa. Looking to make a move. Not right now. Got his teammates to overtake first. Oh, and he has a bit of a moment. He didn't do that too many times. And stuff. Just needs to be careful here in case Santos left off a bit more than others. Santos pretty well actually. Got like Michael Beckett as well. You guys really start to lift off here. Well, Santos doing pretty well right now. His pace is actually pretty decent around here. It's actually quite respectable. Normally he's back with Papa Devils, but he's actually fighting here for a decent point position. But he does have Facetious up the inside. There was a dive on a long far back. And on the outside, he'll be hitting a bit on traction. Oh, and there's a touch. Oh no, Santos round. He's kept it out of the barriers. And Facetious gets a warning for track limits. But that's just, I was literally just complimenting how well Santos was doing. And then Facetious, and then there's a collision like that. I don't know whether that's Santos or Facetious' fault. I don't know. But it could have been a racing incident, to be honest, because side by side, I think there's a little bit of a wheel bang and there was enough to go around. The Stewarts will have to look at that later on. Facetious now looking to get past Lomelin. Lomelin's got his light flashing, so Facetious knows he's going to be slow. And I think Facetious might actually make the move here. Oh, it's raining! No wonder why Viper on all the softs. It's raining! I didn't even realise it's getting cloudy. Now I see why Viper's gone to the softs. That just makes you question even more now is why Young went on the hards. That makes you question it even more. If Facetious breezes past Lomelin, as the rain is starting to fall, obviously won't be ready for inters yet. It'll be a couple of laps yet. Sometimes it takes about 7 or 8 laps to actually get wet, depending on how heavy the rain is. But right now it is barely drizzling. But here it is raining. Obviously here in Britain, absolutely brilliant weather. Of course it was sunny at the start of the race, and now it's raining. Typical British weather. Can just swamp you out of the way and just frazzle your brain as Cargo and Kazakh are going side by side here through Luffield, and Cargo will get the position as Kazakh's trying to come back here. We need to be careful as the track's going to start getting a bit greasy, so I need to be careful here. Might catch a few cars out, might make people go a bit more cautious. The soft tyres will be a bit better in these conditions as they'll be able to keep the temperatures up a little bit better. But right now I think the Cargo is just a bit more confident in these conditions. Despite that, Viper's looking very close to Mazepin. Now Viper is no longer last place, he's actually now fighting for P2. I just did not know it was raining. So, oh, and that's definitely a corner car, but you can't keep costing corners like this. I'm surprised how many people have got penalties. It's an easy track to invalidate. It's also an easy track to not get a penalty at the same time, if you know what I mean. And to go another lap without pitting. I think it's going to be difficult. It depends how. If it's getting wet now, is it worth coming into the pits for change of tyres? Lomelin's already in. Sant's deciding to pit in. They think it's ready for intermediates. If they're later than everyone else coming down this section of the track, they think it's already ready for intermediates. But I think it looks a bit too early yet. Still looks a bit dry. I don't see any puddles forming. Normally, when it's wet enough, normally you start to see you start to see spots on the road. You see wet patches forming, but I don't see that yet. These slicks are still way too quick here. They're still going considerable pace around these corners. You can see those inters are not nice at all. It's not ready for inters yet. Much time he's losing to Matador just for that section alone. Cargo and Kazak are fighting it. Kazak on the DRS again. Won't be surprised if the DRS activates soon. Still no pit stops yet. Still too dry. I think it's getting to that point now where it's just a bit too late to actually go on to inters. Because this is a very long pit lane. You lose about 25-30 seconds in the pits. So you're not going to gain 30 seconds in about 5 laps, are you? And it's not even wet enough yet. And there's the yellow flags, and it's another Mercedes off at turn 1. This time it's not in the barriers. Yeah. Oh, and Young is round. His hards are struggling in these conditions. Look at that Ferrari ghosted through him, and that's Young down to P6. He does have DRS to try and help him get back with it. But KTM Viper. But the thing is now, if it doesn't get wet enough, if it doesn't go to intermediates, KTM Viper has to pit. He still has to pit. He can't continue to the end of the race like this. He needs to either go on to the intermediates or onto another set of slicks. So he has to pit soon. When he does it and what tyre he goes on is up to him. But he's got to do it at some point during these last 5 laps of the race. So Viper took the risk going to the softs. He said it's always going to rain. But he didn't realise how late it was going to be. But you can't take the risk. The medium tyre was the safe choice. It would solidify you getting to the end of the race if it didn't get wet enough quickly enough. But at the same time, it could still take you to that rain period. And the tyre grip is still decent. Now Viper is on a tyre where he still has to pit again. And even if it does get wet for intermediates, guys on slicks will just stay out and still have enough gap ahead of them to stay ahead even though it's very wet. Looking at Lomelin's lap times right now, looking at Delta, it is still not ready for intermediates. He's still losing. As you're seeing, is that time just drops every time he goes around the corner. He's losing still seconds a lap. And now, yeah, it's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm starting to see these spots on the road track now. That generally tells me it's starting to get a bit wet now. But how long does that take? About 4 laps? To even think about getting a bit greased, to get a bit wet? Viper has to pit. And you can see those spots forming on the ground. But weird how the game does that, where it creates like loads of little spots where the rain falls. Viper almost thought he was going to go in the pits and he tested the conditions out. I think it might be ready for inters by the end of his lap. And if that's the case, that's what Viper's got to do. Right now, it's still the slicks are still the tyre to be on, according to Lonelin's lap times. Still dropping seconds per lap. But if it is going to be wet enough, it's going to be within the next lap or so. And there's the Red Bull of Sant. It just shows you how poor those inters are. But I think they might just give him as a pin DRS. No, it didn't. See, their slicks are still decent. See, it's just starting to get a bit of understeer now. I think now about now-ish, it's just started to get intermediate periods. It's just getting there, but it's not quick enough. For Viper, he would have wished this would have happened about 5 laps earlier. And now he's losing time to Mazepin, but regardless, he's still got a pit. You can just see it's starting to get a bit wet now. It is getting wet now. I think it might be time for Inters. It is looking very wet out there now. But according to the Mad Longman, he's still losing time. So it just still doesn't look like the Inters are ready yet. But Viper has to pit. And he's got to do it now if he wants any chance of taking a victory here. And he still doesn't get in the pits. He has to pit. If he doesn't pit this lap, he will be disqualified. This will be lap 24. If he doesn't pit on lap 25, he will be disqualified. There he goes. He's got his second to last chance to get pit. And you can see how wet it is out there now. But it still isn't wet enough yet. According to the game, it looks very wet, but it actually isn't in terms of lap times. Looking very treacherous out there now. Weaving through the section now, you can see the patches of wetness on the track now. Viper's kept himself close to Mazepin, but he has to pit this lap. And he's just got the most unnecessary penalty I've ever seen in my life. He got a penalty down the straight. Very clumsy driving by Viper here. Viper's struggling, Mazepin's struggling a bit more on these wet conditions than Viper is. But Viper is still yet to pit, and he has to do it soon. Gonna make the move. DRS is still enabled. Oh, if any chance to make this race, he needs to spin Mazepin round if he really wants any chance of winning this race. But Viper, here he's into the pits. He has to do it. He has to, otherwise he gets disqualified. I think he might come out about P7. That's our predictions where he's going to come out. And it will be for say of Inters. But this Inters still doesn't look like the quite race tyre to be on. There is 7 intermediates. He had to pit, otherwise he would have disqualified. But you can see how much treacherous that is now. Oh! Oh! Mazepin the cut on the curb. And just showing how slippery it is. Let's say he come out at 7th place. And there he is, drops into 7th place. I was correct, my maths were correct. Came up in 8th place, not 7th. He's got to find as many places as he can while everyone else is struggling on these slicks. But whether they actually are faster is a different question. Oh yeah, it is definitely intermediates now. It is definitely intermediates. Definitely that crossover period. You can see the Alpine's struggling for grip there. Now Viper's looking to way through, but these guys are fighting very hard, and there's DRS disabled. That just confirms what the pace difference is. And there's Viper. He's going to go onto the grass here. Oh, and Sky turns at the moment. And now Young is fighting with him. And Viper's got through too, but this is an untaxed turn around. It's been a massive crash. Oh, he didn't realize he's out. He's lost his rear wheel. That he probably would have caught that if it was dry. No. Viper looks like he's only in position. He possibly can get P4. It depends how quickly it gets wet. I don't see him getting P3. Well, you can see how much they're struggling now. But the problem is Viper though, he's got many penalties. So just getting as much time as you can. But even Viper on the intermediates is struggling. He has got to take that one. And Kazak's out of the race! He's crashed it! So that's one position up for Viper. As Young is now got a 5-second time penalty for extreme corner cutting. So it's put Viper into 5th place. But say Viper's got a lot of penalties, so even if he gets past Sentinel and Facitas, he's got to somehow find that time. The race victory is definitely out the window for Viper. It's all about damage limitation. As Youngers know how to spin. Facitas now is up next for KTM Viper. Cargo, I think, might be a bit too far behind, but the track is getting wetter as we speak. So that's nothing out the window. Facitas, look at the commitment. Oh, and that commitment's about to go out the window. He lost the rear end there, and Facitas has to give up the position. He has to. He's not going to refer a car on intermediates in these conditions. The Cargo is struggling on those mediums. Oh, KTM Viper. He's almost like he's driving with no front wing. That's honestly what it looks like right now. Oh, Facitas is really pushing it. He was pushing it, otherwise pushing it so hard. He's only going to making his result even more difficult to fight with. Viper's going to be too far behind Cargo as Mazepin wins the British Grand Prix from quite a distance. Cargo just seems like a bit stretched too far ahead. Even if Viper does pass him across the line, I don't think he'll get it on position because of penalties. Yep, and there you go, loses that P2 by a massive margin. He will lose podium, in fact. He will just about get the podium by a second. So he will still get to a P3, so he will get that, but he did have a lot of penalties. Viper really needs to sort his penalty situation out. He didn't do very well in his penalties last week either. He had like 15 seconds penalties around Canada, which is not like great. He needs to sort that out and go into the next races. Facitas will end up being P5 after all of that. His spin definitely cost him that position. And Young's got another 5 second penalty with no front, with a very, very little grip on those hards. That rain just seemed to it just came a few laps too late for Viper. If it was raining 2 laps earlier, Viper I think would have definitely had P2. If not, I think everyone would have pitted if the rain came a couple of laps earlier. So he would have probably got P2, if not P1, depending on the pace on the wet conditions. But waiting for Lomelin to cross the line. Definitely a very interesting end to the race. These guys pitted way too early onto those intermediates. Probably about 5 laps too early. I think it was about up 24, up 25. The rain was about alright for the change of tyres. AP's guys pitted about lap 18, up 19. Meanwhile, Mazepin, he will get 33 points, and if not 34 points today, if he has the fastest lap of the race, which we will know in a few seconds. And that will be, I think, the highest point scoring weekend race day in the league's history. And he does have the fastest lap, so Mazepin will get a juicy, super juicy 34 points at the end of it today. That will just pour him ahead into the championship, Drivers' Championship. Nothing had touched him. Cargo will get P2 in the end. I think he'll be relatively happy with the result. Viper will be P3 at the end of all of that. Sentinel will get P4. Facitas will get P5 in the end after that collision with Mazepin. So it's unfortunate for him. We're looking at the collision later on. Young will get P6. Alpha P7. Nestor with no penalties in P8, but he was absolutely nowhere near anyone, so that came kind of pointless in the end. Lomelin in B9. Kazak in P10. And Sant P11. Alex Tur having that crash with, I think it was Young at the end. Then a little bit of a moment. Obviously it was wet on slick tyres, obviously didn't go very well. And the retirements were SD Maldi, Papadevils, and, well, disqualification for NMR Hybrids for trying to overtake the safety car. And, well, whether we can get anyone in, since it's so late, I think I might call it a day. Obviously, I want to get the stream ended as quickly as possible. I've got to try and pop off. So we will end it there. Thank you very much for watching for tonight. We will see you back next week for, I believe, it's Austria for another sprint qualifying session. And after Austria, there will be a break week. So this will be our last race before going into a break. So we will see you in Austria next week for another sprint qualifying session. We will see you in the land of trees. See you and goodbye.